The giant metal gates opened slowly with a loud grinding sound. Dust rose from the red dirt as the crowd cheered. Thousands of alien spectators sat high in the floating arenas above the ground, watching the fighters enter the battlefield. The Trials of Flame had begun. Commander Rylan Thorne stepped into the sunlight. He wore no heavy armor like the others, no claws, no bioweapons, no energy blades. Just a tight suit with light plating, 2 steel batons on his back, and his sharp human, eyes scanning everything. He looked smaller than the others, weaker, out of place. Some aliens laughed, others booed. "Is this the human?" a 6-eyed merchant hissed to his neighbor. "Looks like a walking stick," but up in the skybox, someone else watched silently. Zira. Velkar, Huntress of the HFY, stood tall in her royal armor. Her blue skin shimmered in the light, and her long warrior braids hung down her back. She had won the trials 5 years in a row. Strong, fearless, respected. She crossed her arms and narrowed her eyes. "So this is the human they say fights with his brain," she said quietly. Her assistant gave a nervous laugh. "He won't last 5 minutes." Zira said nothing. She was not so sure. Rylan stood still as his opponent entered. A massive creature called a Krangar. It was twice his size, with skin like black stone and thick arms that ended in hammer fists. The signal horn blew. The Krangar roared and charged. Rylan ran, not backward, but to the side. He didn't try to block. He didn't try to match strength. Instead, he rolled low and threw a handful of dust into the creature's eyes. The Krangar paused, blinded. Rylan used the moment. He dashed behind the beast, climbed up its back like a tree, and struck the base of its skull with both batons. Once, twice, 3 times. The Krangar stumbled, then fell. The crowd was silent. Then, cheers. "Did he just win?" someone shouted. "With dust and sticks?" Zira's eyes widened slightly. She leaned forward. Later, Rylan sat alone in his chamber. His body ached, but his mind was alert. He drank water and studied a hologram of tomorrow's matchup. He knew they underestimated him. That was fine. He didn't care about honor chants or ancient rituals. He came here with one goal, to prove humans were not weak. Earth was new to the Galactic Union. Other species saw them as small, soft, unworthy of respect. He wanted to change that. A light knock came at his chamber door. It opened before he could answer. Zira Velkar stepped in. Rylan stood immediately. He knew who she was. Everyone did. "The Huntress," he said. "To what do I owe the visit?" Zira looked at him without blinking. "You fight differently," she said. Rylan shrugged. "I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to win." She walked around him slowly, studying his posture, his gear, his scars. "You did not kill the Krangar. You had the chance." "I fight to survive," he said. "Not to destroy." Zira stopped in front of him. "Strange words from someone in a death tournament?" "Stranger still coming from someone like you," he replied, meeting her gaze. "Why are you really here?" Zira tilted her head. For a moment, her expression softened. "I wanted to see if the rumors were true, about the human who thinks before he strikes." He nodded. "Now you know." She turned to leave, but at the door, she paused. "Tomorrow's opponent is from the Jorvac clan. They poison their blades. Watch your blood." And then she was gone. In the upper arena, council members discussed Rylan's unexpected win. "He's clever. I'll give him that," said a red-scaled noble. "But clever doesn't win battles forever," said another. "Still," said the HFY representative, "Zira watched his fight closely. That means something." Down below, Rylan trained late into the night, and somewhere in the shadows above, Zira stood alone, looking down at the human. She had seen thousands of warriors. Most were loud, proud, or cruel. But this one was calm. focused, controlled. And he had chosen mercy, when most would not. The Trials of Flame had many battles to come, but for Zira Velkar, the real challenge had already begun. She found herself wondering, why couldn't she stop watching him? The morning sun rose over the war world of Valtor, painting the skies in shades of orange and silver. The air smelled like smoke, dust, and iron. High above, the floating arenas floated like islands in the sky. Below them, warriors trained, fought, or rested before the next battle. Commander Rylan Thorne stood alone in a stone courtyard. His shirt was off, his body was bruised but strong. He practiced fast moves with his steel batons, striking invisible enemies, dodging imaginary blows. Sweat ran down his face, but his focus did not break. Hidden in the shadows of a high platform, Huntress Zira Velkar watched him. She had arrived quietly, her presence unnoticed by most. Even now, she stood like a statue, her face calm and unreadable. But her eyes followed every motion Rylan made, every strike, every breath. There was something unusual about this human. Most warriors fought with power, but Rylan used speed, intelligence, and patience. She had studied fighters all her life. This one did not match any pattern, and yet she kept watching. Later that day, the second round of the trials began. The arena floor changed shape. This time, the battleground was a maze. Stone walls, smoke vents, and glowing traps scattered all around. A loud voice announced the match. Commander Rylan Thorne of Earth versus Kalor of the Jorvak clan. The crowd shouted and cheered. The name Kalor echoed across the sky. Kalor entered first, tall, armored, and carrying two poison-tipped daggers. His skin was dark blue and his eyes glowed green. He had won many matches in the past. His people were known for fast kills and dirty tricks. Rylan entered next, calm and quiet. No cheering followed him, only curious whispers. The humans were still new in the galaxy, still untrusted. Zira leaned forward in her skybox, eyes locked on Rylan. She remembered warning him. Last night, watch your blood. Now she wanted to see if he had listened. A horn blew. The match began. Rylan did not run into the maze. He moved slowly, carefully, checking each step. He spotted a trap. Glowing dust meant to blind him, and avoided it by crawling under a pipe. From E. Above, Zira nodded in approval. Kalor moved quickly, jumping from shadow to shadow. He wanted to finish it fast. He had poisoned his blades and set traps. He believed the human would fall in minutes. But Rylan was ready. At one corner, Kalor jumped from behind. Rylan ducked and blocked with his baton, metal met dagger. A drop of green poison dripped from the blade. One touch would mean death. They fought fast. Kalor slashed again and again. Rylan dodged and deflected, never letting the blades touch his skin. Then, Rylan tricked him. He threw a flash bomb, a small device from his belt. And while Kalor flinched, Rylan disarmed him, kicked his dagger away, and pinned him to the ground. Rylan raised his baton high. The crowd held their breath, but he did not strike. He looked at Kalor and said quietly, "Yield." Kalor growled, but nodded. The match was over. Rylan helped him up. The crowd erupted in cheers. This time they weren't laughing. This time they respected what they saw. In the skybox, the council of judges whispered to each other. The human used light weapons, simple tech, and still won. He refused to kill again? Unusual. But Zira said nothing. She stood, arms crossed, watching Rylan as he left the arena. He looked up at her for a moment. Their eyes met. Neither smiled, neither bowed, but something passed between them, a silent understanding. That evening, Rylan sat by a small fire in his chamber. He rubbed his shoulder, which was sore from blocking too many strikes. He knew the poison could have ended him if even one cut landed. He wasn't here to die. He was here to show what humans were made of. The door opened again. He turned. But this time, it wasn't Zira. It was a tall alien in black armor, face hidden, behind a mask. "I come with a message," the figure said in a flat voice. "You are gaining attention. Not all of it is good." Ryland stood slowly. "That sounds like a threat. Not from me," the figure said. "From others. Some do not like the idea of a human rising in the trials, especially not in front of the Huntress." "The Huntress?" Ryland asked. "She watches you. That alone makes you a target." Before Ryland could ask more, the figure vanished into the shadows. Far across the arena towers, Zira stood on a balcony looking at the stars. Her second-in-command approached. "You've watched him twice now. You've never done that before." "He is different," Zira replied. "Different is dangerous. Or valuable," she said. The wind blew softly around her, lifting strands of her warrior braids. "He fights with mercy," she whispered. "Yet he survives. And you respect that?" Zira turned and looked at her second sharply. "I do." She looked back out at the sky. "But I must know more. I must see if he is strong in heart, not just in body." In the darkness of Valtor, two warriors, one human, one alien, stood on separate towers, far apart. But fate was already moving. The Huntress watched him, and soon she would test him, not just with weapons, but with something far more dangerous, her trust. Dark clouds rolled over the sky of Valtor. The third round of the trials was only hours away, but Ryland Thorne wasn't in the training zone. He was deep in one of the smaller tunnels, walking toward the edge of the arena compound. He had been told to come alone. A message was left outside his chamber earlier that day. No name, no signature, just words. "You're making enemies, human. Meet us before your next match, or regret it." Ryland didn't trust the message, but he didn't ignore threats either. As he walked through the tunnel, he kept one hand near the baton strapped to his back. The stone walls were damp. Lights flickered. The place felt too quiet. Then he heard movement. 4 figures stepped out from the shadows. All wore the colors of the Threxan League, a powerful warrior faction known for breaking rules when it suited them. The tallest one stepped forward. His armor was red and gold, his face hidden by a dark mask. "You've become a problem," the masked warrior said. "The Huntress watches you. The crowd cheers for you. That is not your place." Ryland didn't move. "If you're trying to scare me, you'll need to try harder." "You should lose today's match," the warrior said calmly. "Step out of the way. Let real warriors rise." "And if I don't?" The answer came fast. A punch flew toward him, but Ryland was ready. The fight was dirty, no rules, no honor, just ambush. Ryland fought like a cornered wolf, fast, smart, and full of grit. He used the tunnel walls, pipes, and shadows. His batons struck, quick and hard. He took a hit to the ribs, but kept going. 2 attackers fell. The others ran when they realized he wouldn't go down. Ryland leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Blood dripped from a cut near his eye. He had survived. But something was wrong. He looked at the security cameras. Turned off. This wasn't just a random attack. Someone powerful had allowed it. High above in the Arai Tower, Zira Velkar stared at the alert report from the guards. Unauthorized activity, tunnel breach. 1 human involved. Her face darkened. "Bring him here," she ordered. A short while later, Ryland stood before her, his face bruised, shirt torn. But his posture was straight and his voice was calm. "You were attacked," Zira said, standing. "Across from him in the private chamber." "Yes," he replied. "You didn't report it." "I didn't come here to cry for help." Zira looked at him carefully. "You know why they attacked you?" He nodded. They don't like that I'm still alive, or that you keep watching me. Zira raised an eyebrow but didn't deny it. You could have killed them, she said. I didn't. Why? Because if I had, there would have been war between Earth and their clans, Rylan said. I'm not just fighting for myself. I'm representing my people. That matters. Zira was silent for a moment, then she turned to a table and picked up a silver medallion. It was shaped like a flame wrapped in a chain. This is the mark of honor, she said. Few are given it. Fewer accept it. She tossed it to Rylan. He caught it with one hand. What's the catch? He asked. If you wear it, you are protected by a Rye law. No one can challenge you outside the trials. It is a shield. And the chain? It is also a symbol of duty, she said. If you wear our protection, you stand under our eyes. You carry our name. Rylan studied the medallion. He could tell this was more than just a gift. This was a public statement. If he accepted it, everyone would know that the Huntress herself had claimed him under her law. He would be safer, but also more watched. He looked up at her. Why are you offering this? Zira's voice lowered. Because what I saw today was not just strength, it was honor. And I do not let honor be punished. Rylan held her gaze. Then he nodded once and placed the medallion around his neck. I accept. Word spread quickly across the arena towers. The Bath. Human wears the mark of honor. Zira gave it to him. He is under her protection now. Some were angry. Others were confused. But none dared speak against Zira's decision. She was the undefeated Huntress of the Rye. Her will was law. In secret corners, whispers grew louder. A new alliance was forming, and it began with a human. Later, Rylan sat alone on the balcony of his chamber, watching the storm clouds in the distance. The medallion around his neck felt heavier than it looked. He knew this wasn't just about fighting anymore. This was politics. This was power. He had earned the respect of a warrior. Now others would try to use him or stop him. But for now, he had one more match to fight in the third round, and he wouldn't give them what they wanted. He would not break. From her tower, Zira looked out at the lights of the arena. She felt something inside her she hadn't felt in years. Not weakness, not fear, but curiosity. Why did this human refuse to quit? Why did he still show mercy in a world built on war? Was it foolishness or something stronger? She didn't know yet. But she would find out. One battle at a time. Rylan Thorne stood at the edge of the preparation zone. His gear was ready. His body still carried bruises from the ambush in the tunnel 2 days ago, but his mind was clear, focused. This time, the challenge was a survival match. 4 warriors would enter. Only one would walk out. The arena was different now. No ring, no maze. This time, it was a death zone, a battlefield designed to test everything: strength, speed, leadership, and strategy. Lava pits, falling rocks, electric traps, and sudden explosions would test them all. Above, the floating skyboxes were full. The crowd knew this round was always the most dangerous. And sitting in the highest box of all, Zira Velkar watched silently, her arms crossed. She wasn't just curious anymore. She wanted to know what kind of leader Rylan truly was. The 4 chosen warriors stepped into the arena. Rylan Thorne, the human outsider. Korga, a beast-like warrior with a massive hammer. Scylla, a twin-blade assassin from the cold moons. Drenk, a flamethrower user from the mining colonies. The moment the horn blew, chaos began. Korga charged. Forward, hammer swinging. Scylla disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Drenk lit the ground on fire. And Rylan? He didn't attack. He moved toward higher ground, an old broken tower on the side of the battlefield. He climbed fast, using old wires and metal beams. From there, he could see the whole field. Zira narrowed her eyes. "He's thinking again," she muttered. From the tower, Rylan spotted something dangerous, unstable ground near the center, full of hidden mines. Korga was running straight toward it. Rylan shouted, "Stop! You'll trigger a blast!" Korga didn't listen. He kept running. And, just as Rylan predicted, the ground exploded beneath his feet. A shockwave knocked him out cold. Scylla and Drank froze, surprised. That's when Rylan did something no one expected. He shouted down, "We won't survive alone. The field is a trap. Work with me, then we fight after." Scylla laughed. "Work with a human?" "Your choice," Rylan said. "But the field doesn't care what planet you're from." Drank hesitated, then nodded. Scylla rolled her eyes but moved toward Rylan's tower. Together, the three cleared traps, disabled hidden turrets, and avoided deadly zones. Rylan gave orders, not with pride, but with calm logic. He let the others take the lead in their own skills. He listened, adjusted, planned, and for a while it worked. But survival makes people greedy. When only the safe zone remained, Scylla turned. She threw a dagger at Rylan's back. Drank shouted a warning. Too late. The dagger hit, but bounced off his armor plate. Rylan spun and knocked her weapon away. Scylla smiled. It was worth a try. Rylan didn't attack. He simply stepped back. "You've made your choice." Scylla ran, but the arena wasn't done. The safe zone collapsed without warning, sending rocks down in a fiery rain. Scylla slipped, falling into a pit. Rylan and Drank barely made it out, diving through a side tunnel. When the dust cleared, only two remained. Back in the skybox, council members leaned forward. The humans saved them, then almost died because of it. "He's too soft." Zyra's voice cut through the silence. "He's still standing." The final moment came fast. Rylan and Drank faced each other in the last area, a narrow cliffside over lava. Drank held his flame cannon. Rylan had only his batons, but Drank lowered his weapon. "You could have let me die back there," he said. "Why didn't you?" Rylan replied, "Because survival means nothing if you forget who you are." Drank nodded slowly, then he threw his weapon off the cliff. "I'm done. You win." The horn sounded. The human had survived again. That night, the arena was quiet. Rylan sat in his chamber, cleaning his gear. His muscles ached. His leg was bruised. But he was alive. The door opened. Zira entered, this time without her guards. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. "You took control out there." "I did what I had to," Rylan said. "You built trust," she added, "even with those who planned to betray you." "It almost got me killed." "But it didn't," she said. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Zira stepped forward. "Many warriors here fight for pride. You fight for something else." "I fight so humans can walk through the stars without fear," he said. Zira studied him. "You fight like a leader." Rylan met her eyes. "And you? Why are you still watching me?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to leave. At the door, she paused. "You have one match left. After that, you face me." Rylan nodded. "I'll be ready." Zira looked back, her voice softer than before. "I hope so." Above the towers, a storm rolled over the skies. Fire and blood had tested the human, but the final trial would test something deeper, and the Huntress was waiting. No crowds, no music, no lights flashing in the sky, just two warriors standing face to face in the center of the grand circle, the last stage of the trials. Commander Rylan Thorne, the last human standing, and across from him, Huntress Zyra Velkar, champion of 5 years, leader of the Arai warrior clans. There were no tricks here, no traps, no other opponents. This was the final test, not just of strength, but of will, honor, and something more. The announcement echoed across the open. Sky. By tradition of the Trials of Flame, the champion must now face the last challenger. If the champion falls, a new victor rises. If the challenger falls, they are remembered with honor. The crowd, watching from floating arenas above, was unusually quiet. This was not just a match. This was a story now, a mystery unfolding. Zira stood tall in dark silver armor. Her twin spears gleamed under the light. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Rylan wore no helmet, no heavy armor, just light plates and his 2 steel batons. Zira spoke first. "You've come far, human." Rylan nodded. "You helped? I warned you? Same thing?" For the first time, Zira smiled slightly. Then the horn blew. The battle began. Zira moved fast, like a shadow. Her spears came from 2 directions, one high, one low. Rylan rolled aside, blocked one strike, ducked under the second. His batons clanged against her spears, sending sharp echoes across the arena. He was fast, smart, but she was faster. She pushed him back step by step, testing him. "Don't hold back," she said. "I'm not." "Then show me your heart." Rylan changed tactics. Instead of just blocking, he countered. He used her momentum, dodged close, and landed a strike to her shoulder. Zira stepped back, surprised. Rylan stood tall. "I don't want to fight you." "You must," she said. "This is our law." Rylan didn't move. "Then change it." The crowd was shocked. No one had ever said that before. Zira's face changed. For a moment, she looked thoughtful. Then, she threw one of her spears away. "I will fight you," she said, "with one weapon, to see your true self." Rylan nodded. "Fair." The fight continued. It was no longer just blades and batons. It was rhythm, dance, strategy, strike, dodge, push, fall, rise again. At one moment, Zira nearly pinned him. At another, Rylan had her off balance. Neither wanted to kill, but neither would surrender. Blood ran from Rylan's lip. Zira's arm bled where his baton had struck. Still, they fought. And all around them, the arena watched in awe. After long minutes, both stopped, breathing hard, weapons raised, and then Zira dropped hers. Not from weakness, from choice. "You've already won," she said. Rylan blinked. "What? You've won something greater than a title. You've shown who you are. You fight with strength, but lead with mercy. You think with your mind, but protect with your heart." She stepped closer. The trials are not only about power. They are about finding those strong enough to carry others forward. I have carried the title for years. Now I offer you something more. Rylan stayed silent. Zira removed the medallion from her chest, the flame crest of the HFY. She held it out. "Will you stand beside me, not just as victor, but as my equal?" The crowd gasped. No outsider had ever been offered such a place. It was more than respect. It was a bond, a declaration. Rylan looked at her. "You want to choose me? As a mate?" Zira nodded without fear. "Not as a prize, as a partner." Rylan paused. He remembered the fights, the traps, the quiet talks, the silent glances. He had not come here for love, but he had found something close to it. Trust. Slowly, he stepped forward and took her hand. "I accept." The arena exploded with cheers. Some clapped, some stood in silence, confused, but none dared question the Huntress. The final match had ended not in death, but in unity. Later that night, in the Hall of Champions, Rylan stood beside Zira as the council gave their final judgment. "By tradition," said the speaker, "we name you both champions, equal in title, equal in right." Zira turned to Rylan. "You came here as a stranger," she said. "Now you walk beside me." Rylan smiled. "And Earth walks beside the stars." She reached out, touched the medallion on his neck, and whispered, You've earned your place. Not through fire and blood, but through heart. The crowds had left. The lights had dimmed. The echoes of war cries and weapons clashing had faded. Ryland Thorne stood on the balcony of the HFY Tower, looking out over the great plains of Valtor. A soft wind blew across the silent world. It carried dust, memories, and change. Behind him, Zira Velkar entered the room, her footsteps silent. "You should rest," she said softly. Ryland turned with a small smile. "I've rested enough." She walked beside him, her silver armor, now replaced by a dark warrior robe. Even without weapons, she still looked strong, still looked like the Huntress the galaxy respected and feared. But tonight, she didn't feel like a champion. She felt like someone beginning something new. Word of the final battle had spread across the stars. A human had stood in the center of the trials of flame, had fought without cruelty, had earned the protection of a warrior queen, not by defeating her, but by standing with her. The news shocked many worlds. Some praised it, some doubted it, others feared what it meant, but none ignored it. In the great council chamber, leaders from different alien factions had gathered. A new alliance between Earth and the HFY meant a shift in power. For centuries, the HFY had stood alone. They had never accepted outsiders into their traditions. Now things were different. Zira stood before the council. Ryland stood beside her, wearing the flame medallion around his neck and the human emblem on his shoulder. Zira raised her voice with calm strength. "Ryland Thorne is not only a victor of the trials. He is my chosen mate and now carries the right of speech in HFY halls." One council member, a tall reptilian leader, hissed softly. "You offer power to a species who only entered the galactic circle 5 years ago?" Zira answered without hesitation. "Power is not gifted. It is earned." Ryland stepped forward. "I'm not here to control," he said. "I'm here to build. Earth has no interest in war, but we will not walk in fear. We offer friendship to those who respect it." There was a long silence. Then one voice from the side said, "Perhaps the galaxy needs more who lead with honor, not pride." Others nodded. A new alliance was forming. Later. That day, Ryland walked through the training fields. Young HFY warriors stopped to stare. Some bowed. Others simply watched. A few even smiled. He found Drink, the Fireblade fighter from the 3rd round, standing near the edge of the field. "You didn't die," Drink said with a grin. "Neither did you," Ryland replied. They shook hands. "I heard you've been asked to train new recruits," Drink said. "Including humans." "That's the idea," Ryland replied. "Mixing knowledge, sharing skills." "Good luck," Drink laughed. "The HFY don't like being told what to do." Ryland grinned. "Neither do humans." They both laughed. Back. In her tower, Zira stood before the Hall of Ancients. Stone statues of great warriors lined the walls. She lit a small fire at the center, whispering the words of the old oath: "Strength in battle, wisdom in peace, heart in all." When she turned, Ryland was there. "You spoke to your ancestors?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "It is tradition before starting a new life path." "And what did they say?" Zira raised an eyebrow. They were silent. "Good," Ryland smiled. "Maybe they're watching. Maybe they're curious. Or maybe," she said, "they're just waiting to see if I made the right choice." He stepped closer. "And did you?" She looked into his eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "You are not what I expected. You are what I needed." Weeks passed. Ryland helped build a new training camp where humans and HFY warriors trained side by side. He showed them Earth tactics, fast thinking, teamwork, problem-solving under pressure. In return, he learned more about their traditions, their fighting styles, their deep loyalty to honor. Zira watched the growth of this shared future. She fought less now, but taught more. She guided the younger warriors, shaping the next generation. Together, they weren't just two champions, they were a bridge. One night, under the stars of Valtor, Rylan and Zira sat outside their tower. A quiet breeze passed through the stone pillars. The moons above cast a soft blue glow. Rylan looked up. "Do you think Earth will be ready for this?" Zira replied, "They will have to be. You've opened a door no one can close." He nodded. "And what about you? Are you ready for Earth?" Zira gave a rare, soft smile. "If it's your world, then yes." They sat together in silence. No need for more words. The stars didn't feel far anymore. In the history of the Trials of Flame, many names were written, but one chapter stood apart, the one where a human fought with courage, earned trust without fear, and stood beside a warrior queen, not as a servant, not as a prize, but as a partner. A new path had begun, and together they would walk it.